Welcome back, folks. We have huge news regarding India, another country in the BRICS nations importing massive amounts of precious metals, specifically silver. India is doubling their silver imports for solar and investment demand. Now, why is this such a big deal? Because the past few years, India has been buying record amounts of silver, but now that they are about to double their imports, this means it's a continuing situation. And you definitely want to stick through this video because the second half, the latter half, we're going to be going over a price forecast from a silver expert and why they are saying these very interesting prices. So before we jump into these numbers and see what's really going on behind the scenes, make sure you subscribe. And if you wanted a safe, reliable, cheap place to purchase some of this shiny stuff, well, I have some specials for you. We have 10th ounce silver Britannias for $4.99 per coin. We also have 1 ounce gold South African Krugerrands for $60 over spot. We have silver Austrian Philharmonics for $3.10 over spot and 1 ounce platinum maples for $80 over spot. You can email me slayer@milesfranklin.com or call me 330-485-6172. All right, folks, welcome back. I appreciate you listening through all those announcements. If you wanted a chance to win free silver, well, make sure you click subscribe because I'll be doing a huge main channel giveaway soon, and make sure you click the bell so you don't miss when the entry video goes live. Now let's check out this article from Reuters. India's silver imports are on course to nearly double this year due to rising demand from solar panel and electronics makers, and as investors bet the metal will get better results than gold, leading importers said on Friday. That's huge that it's not just from solar, but investors as well. New money coming in. Higher imports by the world's biggest silver consumer could give further support to global prices, which are close to their highest level in more than a decade. India imported 3,625 metric tons of the white metal last year. Remember, that was last year. This year's purchases could rise between 6,500 and 7,000 tons due to the rising industrial demand, said Chirag Thakur, which is the CEO of a leading silver importer. India's silver imports in the first half of 2024 jumped to 4,554 tons from 560 tons a year ago, right? They are buying record amounts. In the year before that, 2023, it really wasn't a big year for them, but the year before that was also record-breaking amounts of silver. And China is also focusing on silver heavily right now. So, quote, there is a traditional demand for jewelry. People are also buying for investment purposes now that the duty cut has made silver more affordable, Thakur told Reuters on the sidelines of the India Gold Conference. India slashed import duties on silver July to 6% from 15%, a step aimed at tackling smuggling. Thakur said investment demand has been phenomenal in the first half of the year as people bought silver anticipating that it would give them a better return than gold. Local silver futures hit a record high of 96,493 rupees, which is $1,151 per kilogram in May, and are up nearly 14% so far in 2024, slightly exceeding a 13% increase in gold prices. Due to depleted inventories in 2023, industrial silver buyers have been stockpiling the metal this year to guard against rising prices, said a bullion dealer at a silver importing bank. And we're going to see that more and more, not just from India, but across the world. Not just importers, not just countries, not just banks, but you and I as well. Now, that's a very important thing to think about. They are already realizing that they are having a harder time getting it. It's not more so of us, and this is what I've mentioned before. I've talked about silver's price potentially becoming so pricey that people will be repelled from continuing to buy it. But it might not be the case. It might come first that we would have a harder it would be harder to find it than for us to stop accumulating silver because of the price, if you see what I'm saying. And I think that's definitely going to happen all at once. Like they say, 90% of the movement happens the last 10% of the leg. And I definitely see something like silver that happening too, since there's so much suppression and manipulation going on as well, especially for what it's used for and the huge deficit. This is the one thing that that if it were going to quote unquote explode or skyrocket, it would happen all at once. It wouldn't be a gradual increase like something with gold that is mainly a monetary metal that isn't really suppressed and there's no shortage. It would be something like silver that happens overnight. So India imports silver mainly from the UAE, Britain, and China. Now let's jump into this article from MSN.com that came out yesterday titled "More Upside Seen for Silver Prices in the Coming Months," says UBS. And you'll be interested to see what price point they're talking about. So investing.com, silver prices are poised for further gains in the coming months, driven by a combination of favorable macroeconomic factors and robust demand fundamentals, per analysts at UBS in a note dated Monday. A weaker US dollar, improving sentiment across financial markets, and record high gold prices have all contributed to a recent modest rebound in silver prices. UBS analysts suggest that long-term investors should consider increasing their exposure to silver with a target price range between $36 and $38 an ounce. The recent weakening of the US dollar and a shift towards a more risk-on environment among investors have provided a supportive backdrop for silver. Now, this itself should be why you should be accumulating silver. Not just because of this reason or that reason, but itself. Looking forwards, where is the economy headed? Where is the dollar headed? Are things going to get better or are things going to get worse? What do you think this election is going to do to the economy? What's happening geopolitically? All of that, which we know the answers to, we might not know the exact answer, but we know for sure it's going to get worse before it gets better, will be bullish for silver. You don't have to have a crystal ball to understand that the dollar inevitably is going to collapse and things are going to get much worse. That itself, you shouldn't have to be on the fence about precious metals saying, oh, is this a good idea? Because we already know it is. That's a no-brainer. That is a no-brainer. While much of the market's focus has been on U.S. macroeconomic developments and the potential for lower interest rates, UBS analysts believe that silver offers more than just a play on U.S. economic news. Despite recent weak manufacturing data for developed economies, UBS remains optimistic about the industrial demand for silver. Right, because you'll see articles come out saying, oh, with the way the interest rates are looking, the dollar might strengthen, so silver probably won't do much, so maybe you should look at something else or whatever. They're missing the point by such a far mark, right? They're completely missing the entire reason of why you should be accumulating this form of money. In our base case, industrial application demand should still expand by 50 million ounces this year, or close to nearly 10%, driven by secular demand drivers like the energy transition. This growth is expected to be driven by long-term secular trends, including the global energy transition, which likely is going to require increasing amounts of silver for applications such as solar panels and electrical components, like we just saw with India doubling their silver imports this year. And that's going to continue to happen with not just India, but other countries as we are expanding much quicker into this new green age, especially with situations like Samsung's silver battery. It's using much more silver than before. So they're not trying to reduce the amount of silver in these batteries and EVs because using more silver makes them more efficient. So there's going to be more silver used in these applications on top of what it's already used for. It's insane to think about. So let's keep moving on. So another positive factor for silver is that the renewed demand from China. They're not even mentioning India here doubling. This is China as well, like I was just mentioning. This article came out yesterday, by the way. UBS notes that China has shifted back to being a net importer of silver, with net imports reaching 5 million ounces in July, up from 3.2 million ounces in June. The brokerage expects that China will continue to report positive net imports, right? This is continuing from countries in the BRICS nations. Like I said in the introduction, this renewed appetite for China, or for silver in China, is partly driven by falling yields in the country and expectations for further weakness from the Chinese yuan, which are likely to keep onshore silver price premiums elevated, like we've seen on the Shanghai exchanges. So if we see all these very powerful countries, all of these very, very powerful countries with this huge power shift dynamic from the west to the east, if they're all doing it, then what does that mean? Follow the money. And if you are also putting your money into or doing the things that all of these very powerful corporations, the wealthiest billionaires, all these companies, banks, they all know something that most of us don't know. You and I know, not to the extent that they do, but it's not, people say why silver is not doing anything. Well, if it's not doing anything, then why are all the biggest billionaires like Warren Buffett and Jim Rogers buying so much of it? So UBS analysts are also highlighting the potential for increased demand for silver exchange-traded funds, or ETFs, as a U.S. economic outperformance or exceptionalism fades. They say that recovery in manufacturing sentiment, which UBS anticipates in the coming months, could further boost silver demand. So given these factors, UBS remains a positive outlook for silver, advising long-term oriented investors to consider long exposure to the metal. And what do you think? What is your, and if you ever plan on selling, what is your time frame? Let's say, I know a lot of us aren't ever going to sell. We'll pass down to our kids and grandkids. But let's just look at this from an investment perspective. Just strictly, let's look at this for a money thing. Because some of us will use this to pay off our mortgage or whatever. Just look at it from that. What would your time frame be? What would your strategy look like? And I don't mean this in 10% of your portfolio. I'm talking about silver specifically, or gold. When do you plan on selling? In 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? And also, what price point would you be willing to let go? When silver hits $50, would you throw in the towel? And also, we could flip that. What price is too pricey for you to keep buying? If silver hits $40 by the end of the year, or let's say next year, not saying that would happen, just, point of this question, would you still buy silver when it's $40? I know you might not sell there, but what price would you say this is too pricey? And what price would you be happy enough with to let go? Those are interesting things to think about, because we've never been in the situation, obviously, but if you have a number in your head, at least when the time comes, you've already thought about it. Because if you don't and you wait till it happens, there's going to be so much happening. Emotions will be running high. Whatever's happening for silver to be up that high is going to obviously be extremely stressful, whether it's the economy or whatever happens. So sometimes it's nice to have these numbers in place beforehand. Just like if you go into your local coin shop, sometimes if you don't want to spend too much money, only bring in cash in your pocket and don't take extra. Only bring in as much as you're willing to spend, or have an idea in your head before you walk in saying, I'm only paying this much above spot and anything else I'm not, right? So you don't get influenced in the moment, because impulse buying and panic selling are very, very real. Here's some interesting stuff. 5 trillion commodity exports. You could see for all of this, there's base metals and other minerals, $758 billion worth, and precious stones and metals is $647 billion. It's a pretty interesting number to look at, because you can see products, crop products, natural gas, coal, electricity is less than base metals and other metals. It's just interesting to look at some of these statistics, because it is all right. We're talking about commodities, and when someone says commodities, a lot of times you don't think about the entire picture. You just think about one or the other, a few things. But yeah, I thought that was some interesting stuff to share as well. So anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up here. Remember, folks, India's silver imports have doubled, and it's going to continue. I don't see this type of pace slowing down soon, as solar demand is only doubling over the past year, right? We're seeing solar and everything else rise rapidly. So to keep up with that, they're going to have to continue to, even if they don't want to, they have to continue to keep up with the amount of silver they're importing. So, you know, this is just the start. Like I said, this is just the start. And we're already hanging on for dear life in terms of how much we have. So yeah, I'm going to wrap this video up here. Remember, folks, to subscribe, because I will be doing a main channel giveaway soon. And if you wanted to join the Seeker Silver Society, it's a group for silver stackers. We do monthly giveaways on the 31st of every single month. We do like a giveaway, like a bucket poll, like everyone gets one, you know, gets their name in a bucket. Or we'll do like a guessing contest. Whoever guesses what silver's spot price will be on a certain day, whoever gets the closest wins. So a lot of fun stuff like that. Plus we have like the members only discussion board. And if you wanted to purchase silver, or by the way, that was patreon.com/silverslayer if you guys wanted to check out the Secret Silver Society. But also, we also have Miles Franklin if you guys wanted to purchase precious metals for great prices, cheap, reliable, safe. You can purchase from me, I'll answer the phone. A lot of people don't think I do. But yeah, you can email me, slayer@milesfranklin.com, or call me 330-485-6172. Build a relationship with me. I'll make sure you're taken care of. A lot of times buying from these other places have fun if something, God forbid, goes wrong, trying to deal with their customer service. Right? With me, I know you watch my channel, so there's already that relationship there. I'll be more inclined to make sure you're taken care of as well. So it's like, it's a win-win on that note. Plus, I know a lot of you guys love Andy and want to support me. So, you know, even if we don't have the best prices, which I always try to, even if we don't, I'll try to match it. Usually we do though. You know, even then, you know, I'll work with you or we'll figure something out. So yeah, anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up here. Thank you so much for tuning in. This was Silver Slayer. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.